Hello, my friends. It's me, Stu, here for you. And oh my goodness, I have a treat for you today because we have an unbelievable panel of business owners who may not have actually ever thought of themselves in many cases as business owners, or they started a membership business in a completely different market than they would ever have thought, or they started a membership site in while maintaining quote their real job in a totally different market. You're going to absolutely love today's guest, and what I want to do from today is I want to help inspire you to see the fact that you, no matter whether you have an existing business, can easily add recurring revenue to that with a membership. Or maybe you have no idea whatsoever and you don't even know where that potential membership idea could come from. Today, you're going to be inspired because some of these people, I mean, their ideas came from complete left field. They had no idea it was even coming. And today they have a thriving membership business that in many cases has transformed their lives in many ways. And we'll unpack that. So I'm going to dive right in with our first guest, and that is Tara Phillips. Tara, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. How are you?
I am fired up today, as you can see. We're going to dive right into it. Before we do, though, give us a snapshot of who is it that you serve in your market.
Yeah, I serve parents and educators of young autistic kids. So 3 to 5 year old autistic children.
Amazing. Okay, how did you get in that market?
Well, I'm a speech language pathologist and I've worked in the school system for 25 years, and that's been my focus. All those 25 years is working with young autistic kids.
Okay, so how did you go from the school system to running a membership site for this market?
Well, when you say accidental, that kind of is how it is. I didn't even know what a membership was until late 2020. And I put it together like, oh, yeah, I have Netflix. There's memberships I'm part of or subscriptions. But I had no idea. I had created resources for teachers to buy online. So they're like PDF downloads, things they can put together themselves. And then a coach I was with at the time for selling teacher resources said, have you thought of putting these resources you already made in a membership? And I'm like, what's that? So I,
So it
six,
wasn't even on your radar.
no, not at all. I didn't even know what it was. And I dove into it. 6 months later, I had my founding member launch.
Okay, and I know a little bit about your backstory in terms of the membership journey that has happened since that point. It's pretty incredible. Let's go to the founding member launch. You decide to move forward with a founding member launch. Talk to us about like what happened. Take us back to that moment.
Yeah, I kind of planned it out and not really knowing what I was doing, but I called it a product membership. So I took all the things I had already made and I put them uh, into a platform on the first of every month. And then they just got all these new resources every month. And after about a year, I'm like, okay, this is a lot of resources. I need to. This is when I found you and started listening to you. And I'm like, there's a lot of other things I could do to make this membership valuable. So that's when I started adding in training and that kind of thing.
Okay, that first founding member launch, though, how did you? What did you communicate to your audience?
Basically, it was really simple. Like, if you like these resources and you want more of them so that you don't have to recreate things on your own. The problem in my field with young autistic kids, anything we would buy off of online or resources that we needed, it was never at the right level. We had to
Mm.
modify everything. There's no curriculum for 3 to 5 year old autistic children. So that was kind of what I focused on. These are going to be fun, bright, engaging activities at your level, the level of the students you work with. And so that's basically what it was.
What what happened during that first launch? Talk to us about the results.
Uh, my husband and I were blown away. because we just didn't know what to expect. You know, you don't know if there's a need or a market. I didn't know marketing. I didn't know what any of these terms meant. And so we just did it kind of blindly in a way, and welcomed over 100 members in that founding member launch. And it was life changing for a teacher that is on a pay scale. And, you know, it goes up based on the pay scale, not based on what you do as an educator. And so to have that extra money was unbelievable.
So you welcomed over 100 members during that first founding member launch. At what price point was that, Tara?
27 a month.
27 a month, and 100 plus members.
Mhm.
What take me to the feeling like when you saw that first member join? Like what were you thinking?
Like shock, high-fiving. My husband he's still like every time I launch, he's like, "No way. Whoa," you know? It's super fun. But it was like shocking to go in and see several had joined. I did it through a webinar, my first launch, because I had taken Amy Porterfield's DCA. So I'd kind of learned about webinars, but that was my first shot at it. And so sometimes those sales come in right at the end of the webinar. So got off, logged in, and I'm like, holy smokes, I don't even understand what's happening.
Um, Now fast forward because this wasn't that long ago. Talk to us. How long have you had your membership now?
It's been 3 years now.
Okay.
So during all this, I'm teaching full time and doing this stuff at night and on the weekend.
And then at what point did you decide to go full time on this?
Just last October is when I made that decision.
And what went through your mind when you made that decision?
Oh my gosh. Scared. Like I could have made the decision easily a year ago, but I stayed an extra year because I was nervous, worrying, is it going to be sustainable? You know, my husband and I had a lot of conversations about that. Like, at what point can I let go and trust this process?
Mm.
And I finally got there.
And fast forward to today, how many members you have in your membership now?
850-ish.
Tara, 850 plus members. And what does that membership mean to you as you continue to move forward and build this business?
I think it's kind of twofold. Like, it's obviously the personal piece financially, being able to not worry about living paycheck to paycheck anymore. And it's a big shift to feel like that. But also something I did not expect out of it. It wasn't something I sought out to do. I never sought out to be an entrepreneur or leave the classroom. It was not a goal of mine. It was my goal was just to make a little extra money so I didn't have to go and deliver groceries from Shipt, where we deliver stuff from Target. But the other thing is I had no idea how many more kids I could reach than just
Mm.
my classroom. And to see people not only in the United States, but around the world using my resources and trainings it just fueled and lit this new passion in me that I didn't know was there. And it's just another way of teaching, but my classroom is infinitely bigger.
That's a great way to look at it because I know that we've got many teachers in our audience that may be selling one-off resources,
Mhm.
and you were doing that to earn a little bit of extra money. But you've transitioned from one-off resources to a recurring membership, and I'm wondering what advice would you give that person who maybe it's a teacher selling one-off resources, maybe it's another business owner that's selling products as a one-time transaction. What would you say to them? Uh, in regards to starting a membership?
Yeah, I think a lot of teachers use a certain site to sell their resources, and that's still part of my business. I didn't get rid of it, and people said, "Well, if people are in the membership, they're not going to buy there. Your income's going to go down there," and it didn't at all. I feel like it's almost like a lead magnet where people maybe get introduced to me in a way, and then they seek me out and find out all this other stuff that I have to offer. But my advice would be if it's something that interests you, go for it. Because, even if you have 10 members, sometimes as a teacher, that in itself is life-changing financially, and you can build on that. So, and I tell my husband, he's like, "Is that a word?" And I'm like, "Everything's figure outable." Like this whole
Yeah.
journey, I didn't know anything about anything marketing, and I have figured it all out along the way.
Well, I love it, Tara. I'm so grateful for you coming and sharing your story. Where can people go to connect with you?
Yeah, I'm Autism Little Learners on everything, Instagram, Facebook, and website.
Tara, what a great story. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, thanks too.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? There's Tara as a teacher on a teacher's salary, which we all know teachers do not get paid anywhere near enough. Doing a little bit of extra on the side by selling some resources to earn some extra cash, transitions to a membership. In her first founding member launch, welcomed over 100 members at $27 a month, now has more than 850 members. Amazing story. Here's what I want you to realize is that we all start somewhere. Tara did not think ever that she was going to start her own business and grow a membership with hundreds and hundreds of members, but it organically happened and she just kept moving forward. It's not even been a year yet since she transitioned from her teaching job to running the business full time. And I share that because I love the fact that she didn't get it right. She just got it going and she's grown with it. And I want to encourage you to do the same. If you haven't done so yet, come and register for our free workshop. You can see the URL right here, membershipworkshop.com. We are hosting this free workshop on April 4th, where I'm going to walk people just like you, just like Tara, through starting, launching, growing your membership. So come and join us. Okay, our next guest is the one and only Alex. Let me bring her up. Alex, how the
Hi,
heck are you?
Stu. I'm great. How are you?
I am just tickety-boo, thank you. Listen, thanks for
Awesome.
joining. We're going to dive into your story, but first off, who is it that you serve in your market?
I serve women who have always wanted to watercolor. They've always wanted to be creative, but they've been held back by anxiety or perfectionism or fear or just general busyness of life. And they finally have time to start painting.
Amazing. Okay, so have you always been in this market serving women who want to learn how to paint with watercolors?
Boy, have I not. So I've delivered pizza. I finished law school. I wrote a romance novel. I mean, I did everything other than painting. So no, I definitely did not see this coming. I did not know this was going to be my.
Okay, well, this whole panel is all about like accidental membership. So I got to ask you, like, how did you stumble on starting a membership?
So I'm going to go back a little bit just before I started the membership because it's important, it's relevant. So I burned out hard in about 2017. I was working and studying human rights law and refugee law, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who can relate. I am the oldest child. I am a perfectionist. I'm really hard on myself. Like I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so in that sphere, I was like, I have to fix the whole world. And I can do that. I was like a little bit proud of myself that I was going to be able to do that. Did not work out. So I actually started painting as a completely new hobby just for my mental health and just for something to do with my hands. And over the course of the next 2 years, I sold some paintings and people started asking if I would teach workshops. And I'm talking like little workshops, maybe 5 or 10 people would come. And I thought, I wonder if I could make this into a career. So 2019 came around and I was teaching all the time. 2020 came around. January 2020 was the first time I was like, I can do this full time, teach classes. My schedule was booked. I had classes everywhere all the time, right?
I'm
And
feeling it already,
February,
Alex. I
right?
know. I can feel it. It's
I
January
know.
2020. I know what's
Yeah.
coming.
February, people started canceling. Like I would hear from a group or a company, I would do some corporate classes and they'd be like, we're just going to wait a month and see what happens. And I was like, wait a month and see what happens. Like, nothing's changing in the watercolor world. We don't need to see what's happening. Then March, obviously, you don't even need to say anymore, right? March 2020 happened and everything got canceled. And I was like, wow. And so I tried to do like a Zoom virtual class here and there, and it didn't work out. But then I realized I was talking to my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. So long track record of encouragement there. I was talking to him and he's like, well, what do you really want to do? And I remember I went and I sat outside with a notebook and I thought, I'm in memberships. Like, I'm in these things where I love to be a person who pays for somebody else to teach me. And one of the memberships I was in, they were always talking about how a membership is this infinite scalability versus your finite resource of time. And I thought, as a teacher, I can only teach so many classes a day. I only have so much energy. I only have so much time. But if somebody paid for something I taught once and people just kept buying it, like, there, the lights went, and the memberships I was in, they had learned everything from you, Stu. So I signed up for your free workshop in 2021. And this is like, I'll just tell you right off the bat, here was my mistake. I thought I could do it on my own. So I did my founding member launch. It went incredible. And I was like, I got this now. So it was, bought the entire experience because wow, did I need it. But I'm sure you have questions and I'm jumping ahead. So go ahead, interrupt me.
Well, it's amazing. I can only imagine though, like you turning to painting as a form of, helping yourself with your mental health, realizing, hey, like I really enjoy this. I want to pursue this. You start teaching classes, you're building up momentum, and then boom, the pandemic hits, all that gets shut down. And then having to, reimagine what your business model could look like. I know the pandemic was a time when a lot of businesses had to reimagine. And, I've been talking a little bit about this recently because I just think that there's so many vulnerabilities that so many businesses have that we don't even realize. Like the 7 million businesses that are built on TikTok, they're realizing it right now. Like that's a huge vulnerability, right? People are scrambling, trying to move their audience to another platform, trying to, build their email list. And I share that because that was a time, the pandemic was a time when so many eyes were open to like, hey, this is a huge vulnerability. So you shift to the membership model. You do your founding member launch. Do you remember how many members you welcomed during that time?
About 45.
45 founding members. That's a huge boost right out of the gate. Like, what were you thinking in that moment?
I was blown away because the crazy thing about the founding member launch, and I just decided I was going to take you at your word, Stu. I was like, I'm going to be all in on this guy and his process and not listen to anybody else. And I would actually, if anybody needs that piece of advice, take it. Like if you listen to a little bit of everybody, you're going to get nowhere. You have to just listen to Stu. Okay. So you said, do your founding member launch. You don't need to have a membership built out yet. You don't need to have everything done. Just do it. Just start. And I mean, again, the perfectionist, the planner, I was like, I don't know about this, but I did it. And I just started and people were interested. So I had 45 people join and I had nothing built yet. I was inviting them to come in and build it with me. And that was 2021. I still have a lot of those founding members with me and they've been with me every step of the way. I can't believe it. It's honestly been amazing.
What did you charge for that founding member price?
So I charged $17.97 for it.
Amazing. Okay. I got to ask you though, because you mentioned earlier that you are a firstborn perfectionist. And I know that there are others watching that could relate to that. So the thought of launching a membership without having anything yet is like the complete opposite thought that somebody who operates from that mindset would be. How did you combat that natural tension that I'm sure you were experiencing?
So, yeah, I know that there's a lot of us out there. I always tell people I'm a recovering perfectionist, and then I'm like, and I'm also doing the best at it. So, so honestly, I took a lot of lessons from painting. So when you start a painting, it's not done, and it has to go through these stages. And if you don't enjoy the process of painting the whole time, you're going to give up. You're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to finish it. And then you're hard on yourself. It doesn't look the way you want it to. So when I teach my students, it's a lot of, you have to enjoy the process of it. You have to actually enjoy the time you spend at your desk. It's a lot of, you aren't failing if it doesn't look the way you want it to, as long as you've learned something from it. So the only failure is if you don't learn from that, then that's a failure. As long as you're taking something with you to your next painting or your next drawing, then it's progress. Progress is better than perfection. And so I say that to my students all the time. And it was a real eye-opening moment for me of, I need to also believe what I preach. It's not just about painting. It's about business. It's about marketing. It's about your launches. Everything is an iteration. And if you can learn something from it every time, then you're doing great. So yes, I am a recovering perfectionist anonymous. But really it's just, progress is better than perfection. And I have a little Post-it note that I keep on my wall that says, good enough is good enough. And I look at it sometimes and I'm like, it's not true. It has to be. And then I'm like, no, good enough is good enough.
But I love that analogy of painting, because you're so right. Like, when you do start any type of artwork, it's not the finished product instantaneously. Like, you have to work through that process to get there. That's a great way to look at it. Okay, fast forward to today. Where are you now with your membership?
I have, I just honestly, it still feels unreal. I'll tell you that. So last December, I had a huge goal, incredibly well. And I saw 100 people join, and then 200, and then 300, and then 400, and it just kept going up. And I kept leaving my office and going out to find my husband and being like, okay, another 40 people, like another 50 people, And after the first little while, I was like, I'm not doing the math anymore. Like, I can't even, it feels so unreal. Like, I was just like, you do the math, you tell me how much we're making, because I just can't even handle it. It's too good. But I've since done the math, and it was a $200,000 launch in December, which just blows my mind. Let me tell you, I can't even believe those numbers are coming out of my mouth. And it's incredible. I get to meet the most amazing people. I'm an introvert. I get to work from home in the comfort of my office. I get to, have this amazing life that, not just the money part, but where I can answer to myself. I can work for myself. I'm not very good at working for other people because I like to ask questions, and I'm like, well, we could do that better. Why are we doing it that way? But when it's me, that's okay. I can ask those questions. And so I love it. It's amazing. I have my next launch coming up in 2 months, and I am so excited for it. I can't wait.
Alex, it's pretty mind-boggling. If we just take a moment, like, in one launch, you generated multiple six figures with a membership where you're teaching other women how to paint with watercolor. Like, what an amazing time that we live in, right? Like,
Oh my goodness.
gosh, it never ceases to amaze me, like, what is possible with memberships and the internet and the time that we live in. It's incredible. So let me ask you, for everybody watching and listening, they're looking at where you are now. Like, you've just come off a launch that has done multiple six figures, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, I could never. What would you say to that person who sees where you are now, where that was only a few years ago, where you were in the exact same seat that they were? What advice would you give?
I'm glad you asked. I actually wrote a couple things down because I wanted to really make sure that I said this clearly. And I think it's this. If you have passionate about, and you're at least a little bit better at it than somebody else, you don't have to be the best at it. I think that's a trap that we all fall into, of like, well, I don't think I can teach. I'm not the best at it, right? But you're never going to be the best at anything. So just, if you're a couple steps ahead of somebody else, then you can teach somebody. And if you are a hard worker, right? Because it does take effort, right? It takes discipline and effort to work for yourself. I think that you have nothing to lose. I mean, there is this entire world out there that most people don't even know exists. When I tell people I have an art membership, right, their eyes glaze over. They're like, what is that? And I know they're imagining, like, oh, she must do it as a hobby. Like maybe she makes a couple $100 a month. And in my head, I'm like, no, it's really cool. Like, trust me, it's really fun. So I think I just really want to encourage anybody watching to believe in the thing that you're passionate about, and then take practical steps to make that happen. And I think for me, I know, Stu, you have a lot more experience seeing, the pitfalls that people kind of fall into, but just from the people I've talked to, I think one of the big things that holds people back is mindset and just, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have the right technology or the right tools. I don't know if people want to learn from me. I don't know if I'm the best at it. And I knew we were going to be talking, and I looked back at my founding member launch. I looked at a couple of videos I had posted, and I had my iPhone like balanced on a stack of books, the technology wasn't there. The microphone wasn't good. I had no curriculum yet, but I started. And so I think the most important thing I can say is you just have to get started. Believe in yourself, as cheesy as it sounds, believe in yourself. Trust the process. You have a process, and that process works. And I am where I am now because I trusted you and I trusted that process and I committed to doing it. So those are my tips.
Alex, this has been amazing, buddy. I'm so thrilled for you and the progress that you've made, and it's incredibly inspiring. I can see it in the comments. By the way, thank you to everybody who's leaving comments and chatting in the comments. I see you. I appreciate that. Definitely give Alex and Tara some thumbs up and some hearts. But as we look to part ways here and get to our next guest, I want to just ask you, where can people go to connect with you?
So I'm Alex Kincaid Art everywhere on Facebook, and that's my website, Alex. There.
Awesome. Alex, amazing. Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming and sharing, buddy.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry. I accidentally cut you off. Sorry, Alex.
Bye.
All right. There we go. Amazing story, right? Like, friends, this is what it's all about, is that just what Alex said, we just have to get going. You just have to get going. You just have to trust the process, because you just have no idea where it could potentially lead. I am sitting here holding space for you. I've helped tens of thousands of people launch, grow, and scale their membership. So I have seen the trajectory of people's businesses and what is possible. You just heard Alex, literally a couple of years after launching her membership initially, she's just coming off a multiple six-figure launch for a membership teaching women how to paint with watercolors. It's incredibly inspiring. And I want to encourage you to come join us for our free membership workshop. It happens on April 4th. We're going to walk you through the process of launching, growing, and scaling a highly profitable membership. I'm going to push you. I'm going to hold space for you, because during this free workshop, as you have heard, there will be people that will launch their memberships during the free workshop. I hope that is you. I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to push you as your friend and your coach to do that very thing, because what I know is the momentum that will be created from you taking action. So I want to encourage you, come join us. It's all free. It starts April 4th. Just go to membershipworkshop.com. Okay, I'm going to bring up our next guest. We've got two more. I'm going to bring up the one and only Julie. Julie, how the heck are you, my friend?
Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Now, I know your backstory, but you've always wanted to be a businesswoman, growing a business, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I feel like the universe kind of dragged me a little bit kicking and screaming into this one. Yeah, and now I have a second membership that's launching this year, and a third potentially accidental membership that just kind of is starting up as of a few weeks ago that you don't even know about yet.
Oh my God. Okay. So let's get to this, because this whole panel is all about accidental memberships. And I want to come back to the moment when you decided to move forward with a membership. But before we get there, let's just first talk about who is it that you serve in your membership.
I serve homeschoolers and art teachers. So we have kid tested and kid approved. Kids are harsh. So this is a serious thing to have as a stamp of approval. And art projects and resources that are developed with kid input too. So it's not just a team of adults coming up with all of the fun things, but kids get to vote and have a say in like what the art projects are going to be. So they're more fun. But we equally serve homeschoolers and art teachers now. So
That's amazing. Okay, so how did you get into that market to begin with?
well, I've always been so as a homeschool parent, and I was single income, husband working, I was homeschooling the kids, and somehow things were always very artsy and creative at my house. So any kind of play date or anything, I was always arranging and doing all this creative stuff with my kids. And there was a lot of, you really should teach others how to do this. And like, no, 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 no. So I eventually started a free Facebook community. There was no business reason at all. I just started it because I was just like, I am sick of homeschoolers not knowing how to do art with their kids. They need to be having more fun. And this is how it's going to work. And I called it Sparkle Schooling. And I just talked to people about like what art supplies were, what paper, like how to draw. And I just did this for fun, just on the side.
So this was a free Facebook group. Anybody could join at any time. And you're just sharing how
Just
to
for
make
kicks.
art fun for kids.
Just for kicks.
Yeah.
So then what happened is I was like, well, maybe I should teach like an art camp in the community to like other kids. So I had these kinds of things planned. And then, of course, COVID. And I was sitting there and I suddenly had a lot of art supplies in the house. And this is the part I don't think I've shared as much, but like my house suddenly had like 30 pairs of scissors. And I mean, I have 2 kids and I'm like, what do I do with all this stuff? And at the same time, I had that person that a lot of us have had in our life who does not end up being the person that we want them to be. And I was so completely devastated, as my kids really like this person too. And it was just so upsetting that I literally rage created art lessons in my upset. I just kept creating and creating and creating because I didn't know what to do with all of that stuff. We couldn't go anywhere. So if you remember, like we didn't even know if the trees were going to give us COVID at the very beginning. Like all of us were like, what do we do? So I just kept creating until people said, well, why don't you like share these with others? So I said, okay. So I put them all in a bundle and I put it out and I let everyone have it. And then I did it the next month and everyone loved them. Everyone loved them. And so I decided to maybe sell the next one, and I was going to sell it for $5 because $5. And at the time, I joined BBD because I'm like, I don't know. And again, I was just doing this more for fun than anything. And it's like more, not $5. I'm like, how about $10? And at that point, I'm pretty sure everyone gave up on me. They're like, fine, $10, sell it. And people bought it. And then people bought some the next month, but we didn't know like who was going to buy it, like how many people. And then the weirdest thing happened. I started getting comment after email saying, we want these every single month.
Interesting.
So I went to James, mutual friend, and I said, I was ready for him to talk me out of a membership. I'm like, you have to have so much content, don't you? Like so much content in order to begin. And he was supposed to say yes, because I was just starting to learn your name. And he did not say yes. He said, no, as little as possible. He's like, you just have to start. So I got off that call and I looked at my husband and I said, I guess I'm starting a membership. And in January, I launched our founding member launch. And I thought, I think I got 20. I think I got 20 people who are going to buy this. Like maybe 50, but that's not what happened. We had 349 people buy. And then I got a lot of angry emails because I didn't know what I was doing because I had not taken your course yet. So the angry emails were because I closed it down. And I had said that it was opening in January, and it was still January, but it was not open. And I only meant for a week. So I opened it back up again, and we got another 100 members.
Wow. So you finished January during your month that you opened it with over 400 founding members.
Over 400 founding members. And
what were you charging per month?
$17, because you have to have sevens, right? That's
yeah. And so at that moment, like if I just do the quick math, you know, you've got 400 members at $17 a month. Julie, that's nearly $7,000 a month in recurring revenue. What goes through your mind as you're talking about that with your husband? Because you mentioned you're on a single income family, and now you've got another revenue stream coming in of nearly $7,000 a month. What goes through your mind?
Well, I'd like to say that I high-fived and I felt like this would happen, but I actually just broke down and started crying because I went, oh my, this is a lot of people. This is a lot of people who are putting their like trust in me. And it was shocking. It was absolutely shocking, and also felt really, really amazing, because I knew that this membership was going to help not just the kids who were creating, but the parents feel confident. And then they started creating art co-ops so they could use our stuff to teach other homeschoolers in their area. And it's just, we now have over 2,000 members.
Wow.
And now we have people complaining again that they want to keep continuing, but their kids are getting older, and so they don't know what to do. And so we're launching the middle and high school membership this summer. So I'm very nervous because the nerves, like when you talk about advice, the nerves don't go away. They don't get easier. You just know to keep going.
Yeah.
And it's still shocking. It's still shocking that all of this can happen. But that money helped pay for the new roof on my house because I live in Michigan. So the snow broke the roof over my garage and I didn't have to worry about paying for it.
And I know because you and I have spoken about this, but one of the very first things that you did was actually just go on vacation with your family. Can you just talk about that? Because I think that, you know, just brings purpose and meaning to, you know, why this matters. It matters for the people that matter most in our lives, right?
It did. And we've continued that. We've continued being able to go on vacation. But last year, for the first time, we invited our two best friends to come along because they don't have the money to be able to do stuff. So I took care of everything for them. And it just felt so good.
Julie, I love hearing it. And I love hearing what a membership makes possible, because the other side of this too is I also know that another thing that really lights you up is the fact that you have started to hire, you know, a whole bunch of other homeschooling moms to help with the membership. Talk to me about that, because I know starting a business was never on your radar, let alone like, you know, hiring a team of people, but now you are, and it's lighting you up in a different way, right?
It really is. So the majority of our team are homeschool moms who just want like 10 hours, a little bit around 10 hours a week, just to do something else and to feel like they're making a difference too. So we choose to hire like from inside our community of, you know, homeschoolers who then they get to do something fun. They get to be more financially secure too. And then their kids actually get to test out some of the lessons. So their kids get to be involved in the process. And then with this new membership, it's being created for middle and high school students. So one of the things, and I think Tara was speaking to this, a lot of teachers have to do like DoorDash type things in the summer to earn a little bit extra. So what we did is we actually targeted art teachers this past summer, And we paid all of them to help develop the content while they were off so that they would have money like in their field and they'd be able to work in their field and be able to work less and still enjoy their summer. And then we have the content, and right now we're prettying it all up. So we have it.
That is an amazing example of how you are using your membership to do so much good, not only with the people that you get to serve, but certainly with those that you are hiring. And I love the fact that you're doing that during the summer when these teachers would be normally scrambling to find some other means of income. They get to stay in their wheelhouse. And then you as a business owner, you get all of those lessons like built out for the year. It's an amazing win-win across the board. Julie, this is such a great story. I'm so grateful for you to come and share it with everybody. Where can people go to connect with you?
We're at Soul, so SOUL, and then Sparklets. That's what I call my kids, and then art. So Soul Sparklets art, just about everywhere.
Julie, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming and sharing. What a great story.
Thanks, Stu, for having me.
Cheers. Oh my gosh. If you can't love memberships anymore after hearing Julie's story of how, again, not only is she serving a whole bunch of people inside of her membership, thousands of people now inside of her membership, but she's using that membership to do so much more good in the world and who she's hiring and how she's helping. I love it, love it, love it. The other thing that I think you may have picked up on is that her initial membership has sparked, no pun intended because of the sparklers, but her first membership has sparked a second idea for another membership. And she was saying, hey, Stu, I've even got a third idea that I haven't talked to you about yet. And that's just the nature of it. She has seen that her audience, her members were asking for more as the kids were getting older. She's starting a second membership. Oh my gosh, I absolutely love it. Okay. What I want to do is I want to remind you, if you haven't done so yet, come join us for our free workshop. You can go to membershipworkshop.com. This is where we unpack this. You're going to hear so many more great stories through that workshop, but we're actually going to roll up our sleeves and get to work. I'm going to be walking you through how to conceptualize your membership. I'm going to help you identify whether the market that you are thinking about is a good market for a membership. We're going to talk about how much money can you actually make in a membership site. We'll do some membership math and we'll calculate that out. You've heard here with, Julie doing her first initial launch. She was generating close to $7,000 in that first month, of $7,000 a month in that first month. Crazy, crazy, crazy. We'll walk through that and a whole lot more. And my goal in this free workshop is to help you get the clarity, number one, and number two, actually take action. And yes, launch your membership during the free workshop. Can you imagine that? Like by the end of the free workshop, you got recurring revenue coming in. It is possible. It happens every year. I want it to happen for you too. Come join us for free, membershipworkshop.com. Okay, our last guest of the day. This was a total accidental membership. Let me tell you, in a completely different market that he is not the expert in whatsoever. Scott, great to have you here, buddy. Thanks for joining us.
Stu, how are you, buddy? It's great to see you.
Well, it's great to see you too. I rewind back to a few years ago. I'm in Hawaii. I get a message from you that says, hey, Stu, I'm in your community. I'm in Hawaii too, with my family vacation. Do you want to connect? I said, yes, of course. We connect. You start telling me about your membership site and my mind is blown. So I want to get there. But this is the panel about accidental memberships. So we're going to unpack that. But first, who is it that you serve inside your membership?
We serve dentists who offer Invisalign treatment in their practice and are motivated to grow that part of their practice. Super niche.
Super niche. So when you first told me this, I was like, okay, clearly Scott must be a dentist. Is that true?
Yeah, the running joke among our now 6,000 members is when they encounter me, I am #not the dentist. I'm decidedly not a dentist. I am a lawyer, a very happy lawyer. I am a social impact consultant in my sort of day job, or I should say my other day job now, and was before. But we always joke that a dentist and a lawyer walked into a friend's backyard barbecue and came out with an accidental membership. That's a short version of a 2-year story I'm happy to unpack.
Okay. This is I love these accidental memberships because so you've got this booming membership. And by the way, I don't know if everybody picked up on that, but Scott just subtly, dropped the bomb. 6,000 members, like OMG. Okay, so accidental membership, you are not the dentist.
Nope.
So how do you go from not being the dentist to creating a membership site for dentists?
Yeah, great question. And here's the simple answer. In a backyard conversation with one of my very best friends in life from high school, who's a dentist, also my dentist, I knew he offered Invisalign treatment. I had gone through that treatment with him. And he was sharing that his goal was to spend a little less time over the chair. Dentists are over the chair working in patient mouths every day. Now, Ryan, my buddy, is 6'8". He's a really big guy. So when he's bent over the chair, that's a lot of weight over the chair. So he had a pain point, right? He had this pain point he wanted to solve, which was being over the chair. And I said, well, why don't you teach the thing you're best at, this Invisalign thing? And his immediate answer was, no, I will never train my competition. He had worked so hard to become as good as he legitimately is. I mean, in the world of dentists who offer Invisalign, he is unquestionably by far the Michael Jordan of Invisalign. It's remarkable because the average dentist does about 5 total patients a year. Ryan does 500, 600, sometimes 700 patients a year. So his expertise is truly an outlier. And I said, well, wow, if that's the case, you should teach it. He said, I'll never train my competition. And I said, well, what if you could do it at scale? And he didn't know what I meant by that. Again, we were in our friend's backyard barbecue. And the next year, same barbecue, same friend, 1 year later, we picked up on that conversation again. Even that didn't do it. It was about 6 months later, we were at Ryan's home in Florida, his vacation home, and in the backyard, another backyard conversation. And he said, all right, Scotty, what would this thing look like? And I fired up Stu McLaren's website and showed him what these things can look like. And that was the day it started. That was a little over 6 years, 7, 8 years ago now, maybe. It was a spring break, so we're right about there. And that was the day we started. But unlike other people, we didn't launch right away. We had to incubate the idea, curate the content, develop the content, build it and grow it. It took about 18 months before we were ready to launch. So our launch looked differently.
Yeah, because I was just going to say, for everybody watching and listening, it's not like you had an audience of other dentists that you could immediately market this to. And so that was part of that runway, was building that audience. And I know the natural question people are going to ask is, okay, well, Scott, how did you start from no audience to build that audience? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I will answer that question. I just want to say this is for anybody who's wondering, is this for me? What if I don't have an idea? I want to make one point of this story really clear, which is I had taken Stu's course, the predecessor to the membership experience, twice, 2 years in a row before I ever even had that first conversation with Ryan in the backyard. I wouldn't have been able to have that conversation had I not done the membership experience first. And so I was doing this course, this program, without any idea of what I might do. And in fact, I thought I might do something for, my world, the nonprofit world or the legal world. So I just want to say, if there's anybody out there who's wondering, should I do this course if I have no idea? Yes, it works. And so I just want to say that to those who might be listening and wondering if this is for you. I was wondering the same thing, and I did it twice before I stumbled into this accidental membership. And then to answer your question, Stu, we built it slowly, and we built it in strategic partnership with the makers of Invisalign, which was also another unexpected, joyfully awesome part of this journey, which is that it turns out our hunch was right, that having Ryan Moelis teach Invisalign to other dentists was as exciting to them as I thought it might be in that first backyard conversation. And so we actually developed a partnership with that company that we still have today. It is bigger and better than ever today, to serve specifically Invisalign providers, because there's other clear aligner treatment companies out there, but we stayed exclusive to Invisalign if they would help us gain sort of name recognition and help people know who Ryan was within their community of dentists who provide the treatment, because Ryan had quietly become the Michael Jordan of Invisalign. Everybody at Invisalign knew who he was, but none of his peers did. We didn't have an email list. We didn't know where to start with one. And so we built it in a completely different way. That was the answer. We built it very slowly from scratch in partnership with others, but there were other peer educators out there, and so who we were deemed competitive to. But the way we did it, the way we built it based on the membership experience was and remains unlike anything else that's out there, because most people who are educating other peers in this space were doing so at weekend conferences, in person, at hotels.
And what's interesting about this too, Scott, is like we talk about, a strategy called borrowed influence. And this is essentially what you were doing. You had formed this partnership with Invisalign, and there's so many great lessons to unpack from your story. Like, one is the borrowed influence, being able to identify, hey, Invisalign has the audience of dentists that we want to get in front of. Is there a way that we can, partner with them? And obviously, yes, because if you're teaching other dentists how to do more Invisalign procedures, that's going to help Invisalign. And that's a partnership that I know has been very significant for you guys, meaning you're not only generating revenue from the members, but that's also another revenue source. Big idea for everybody. But the other part of that is like, as you are building this out, you are thinking creatively, thinking innovatively. And you said every other educator in the space is doing things in person. And that became actually your core advantage. Talk to me a little bit about your positioning of your membership, because it is a much higher price point. And I think that that's really important for people to understand how you've positioned it and contrasted against the old way of teaching dentists Invisalign. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, put really simply, and I think it's a great point, and you have helped clarify and reinforce that with me over the years, which is the contrast is so helpful to how we position in the market. So our membership's about $3,000, just a hair under $3,000, $2,925 for a year-long membership that gives you access to our curriculum, our community, and all the coaching that comes with that. And I can explain that. Those are our 3 C's, our 3 magic C's, right? Our curriculum, community, and coaching. And it wraps around doctors for the entire year. Well, that sounds like a really expensive membership, right? Especially in comparison to the ones we've heard about today. But it's actually a little bit less than the cost of one 2-day conference for our average member. If they go to a conference, they're paying about $3,000 to go to the conference in the first place, plus or minus the cost of airfare. Some are priced, at $2,000. You pay $1,000 for airfare and hotel and incidentals. Others are priced at $3,000 or higher, and then you still got to put hotel and airfare. And how many of us have been to a conference where it's amazing while you're there, you get all these revelations and takeaways, and then you sort of go home and you've forgotten about it by the time you make the trip back home and get back into life. And if you have a family or social life or whatever, and you finally get back to work, you're like, wait, well, what was that thing that I learned? We have the value of 50, 60, 70 conferences in our curriculum, accessible 24/7, 365 at the touch of a button when and where you need it most. And with our community, which we've curated specifically on the competitive advantage of kindness, because what we learned early on in that 18-month building period is that a lot of the communities for dental professionals weren't very kind. There was a lot of competition and competitiveness, and it didn't bring out the best in people. We said, well, great. Ours is going to be focused on kindness. So you get the value of 50, 60, 70 conferences. We've grown over time. So we used to say about 50 conferences. Now there's so much more content than there was when we launched. And you get this community that's there for you and curated solely to help and support you and say, you can do this. We all start at zero. And Ryan's there every day at the touch of a button, encouraging people on, saying, we got you. We were supporting you. Yes, you can do this challenging case that might be new for you. And so for the cost of a single conference, you get all of that for a full year. It was amazing. And so that's our value prop. And we love on those members the way you teach us to. I mean, first Ryan and I, early days, he's like, well, do we really need a community? Why don't we just, this content's going to be so valuable, Scotty. I know it's going to work. Let's just put it out there. I don't know that we really need the the trouble of a community. Well, now Ryan's a full convert, right? So we have this community and we love on people and we're kind and we're caring and we welcome everybody by name. And we've had 6,000 people come in, but every single one of them has been welcomed by name. And so it's just been this juggernaut of effectiveness that to your point, the rising tide lifts all boats. Arguably, we make the least in the equation. The company, Invisalign, makes a lot more when doctors are doing more and more cases, and they are when they're done with Moles coaching. And then the doctors are what we teach doesn't have an expiration date. It lasts a lifetime, as evidenced by the fact that Ryan's in 22 years of doing this and is still doing hundreds of cases. That's the promise we make possible for our members, and they make money on that. And their patients are happier because they get a straighter, whiter smile, cheaper, faster, and easier than metal braces. And everybody wins, nobody loses. It's an amazing thing, and it's such a wonderful place to spend your day, even if you're not a dentist.
Well, I appreciate you taking a moment there, because I do think when we look at the value of a membership, you have done it in such a beautiful way by creating contrast to what these dentists are typically paying with a weekend conference.
Yep.
And so it's real simple. You get the much more value than a weekend conference, and it's extended over the entire year, and it's the same, if not cheaper than a single weekend conference. It's an easy no-brainer for those dentists. Scott, I know people are sitting here hearing your numbers, doing the math, like, OMG, this is a multi-million-dollar membership.
Yep.
So this, as you said, is your second day job. So talk to me about this, because like, at what point do you're looking at this going like, oh my gosh, this is taking off. This is insane. Like, what's going through your mind?
Well, there's two things there. All of us have imposter syndrome. All of us question whether things work. We're all insecure. We're all in that mind space. So I don't want anybody to think that this was like preordained or anything. In fact, when we actually launched after 18 months of trying, we thought we'd get 1,000 members very, very fast. I think our first year we had like 25. So for us, it was sad trombone, cymbals crashing on the ground, like crickets chirping. What happened here? I thought this was going to work. And it took 2-3 years before we really started to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds predictably and reliably joining, and we really hit our stride. So don't despair. It took us a long time. These numbers do sound great. They are great, but it didn't happen overnight. We bootstrapped it. It took a long time. It didn't work the way we thought it would. We had to recalibrate, but we had to stay true to our belief of what was made possible by this. So I just don't want anybody to think it's, all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns on day one. It wasn't for us. It was really, really hard. So that's one thing. The other thing is, once it started working, to answer your question, we knew we had to grow our team. Our team is our magic, right? It's not the magic that makes it work. It's the way we work that makes it magic. That's one of my favorite Disney Institute sayings. And we have a magical team. So our first hire was a woman named Jenna, who coincidentally is Disney trained, and she became our member concierge for our mastermind program and for our in-person events that we eventually started. Then we hired other people on our team, Joe, and then we hired more people. So we invested back in the engine that makes this work. And because Ryan still has his day job, he's still a dentist. Now he's less over the chair than he was 6 years ago, but he's still over the chair because that's part of his credibility, is that he's still teaching from the place he's working, and he's walking the talk. He's not just teaching on stage all the time. He's still in practice right there with our members, shoulder to shoulder, even if it's virtual. But we grew the team. We invested in our team. We still invest in our team. We nurture and grow our team as much as we do our community. We couldn't do any of it without them. So building that team so that Ryan can keep doing what he does, that I can keep doing what I do. Again, I'm #not a dentist. I can learn a lot, but I'm not the teacher who should be on stage. So, my job is to keep taking your course. My job is to keep taking, other courses, and reading, Amy Porterfield and books that we all share in that community of membership leaders. And so that's what I do. And I help keep our team going, stay focused on the core of what makes the membership experience great, because then we hope they renew as an alumni at a much lower alumni rate in years 2, 3, 4, and beyond. And we do have now, 3,000 members, I think, that have renewed for multiple years.
It's an amazing story, Scott. I'm just so incredibly grateful. There's so many amazing lessons to pull from, what you and Ryan have done. I want to wrap up here real quick. I'm going to ask you one question, and that is, what advice would you give for somebody who may not see themselves as the expert, but they have a relationship, a friendship like you had? that they could see that person starting a membership, what advice would you give them in terms of approaching that?
Plant the seed. Plant the seed. You never know. It might take 2 years, multiple backyard conversations, but plant the seed. Have a conversation. You never know. The longest journeys begin with just one step, and a fire begins with a spark. So be the spark and learn this, because then when your friend says yes and your friend moves fast, you're going to be the one that's going to help them plug their knowledge into this model, and you never know where you might wind up 5 years later.
Amazing. Scott, where can people go to connect with you?
If you want to learn about Moelis Coaching and see what we've done, because I do believe, and you've taught Stu, success leaves clues, go look at the membership at moeliscoaching.com. You'll see what we do there. Most of you probably aren't dentists, so I know you're not going to pick up that aspect of it. But if you want to see how a thriving membership that's an open cart membership, open all the time, works, you can go have a look at moeliscoaching.com. If you want to find me, I'm over on LinkedIn. You can find me. I'm Scott M as in Matthew, Scott M. Curran on LinkedIn. And I do get messages from these Stu every now and then. I did a call last week with someone who saw our recording from last year, and I'm super happy to help. I want to pay it forward. I want to be part of the virtuous cycle that you create in this amazing community. So anybody's welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'll do my very best to be helpful.
Scott, you're amazing, buddy. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. I really appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, Stu. Nice to see you.
Cheers. What? If you're not inspired by the stories of Tara, Alex, Julie, and Scott today, then I don't know what would inspire you, because here we're talking about accidental memberships. These people did not come into this with the idea that they had a membership site planned out. They knew exactly what it was going to be and who they were going to target, and nothing. As you heard today, these ideas came and were developed organically. In Scott's case, it was his buddy. He saw his buddy Ryan, who is like this world-class dentist, and he saw in him the opportunity to be able to help him leverage his expertise, help more dentists. Scott's not the dentist, but he made it happen because he had the knowledge of how to launch, grow, and scale a membership. Then you heard from Tara and Alex and Julie. They didn't intend on starting a business or starting a membership. They had interests, they had expertise, but the membership became a vital part of their business and ultimately their life. That's why I want to encourage you to come join us for our membership workshop. It's all free. It's free. Free! You can't get better than that. And it starts April 4th. But you want to go register right now. Go to membershipworkshop.com. During that workshop is where I'm going to help you get the clarity of knowing exactly what to provide inside of a membership. I'm going to help you get the clarity of knowing exactly what market to position your membership for. And we'll talk about like what markets are good for membership, what are not. You'll have that clarity right away. We're actually going to walk you through the process of launching your membership. And I know right now there's probably those gremlins in your mind that are saying like, wait a minute, Stu, launch a membership. Like I don't have this figured out. I don't have that figured out. I don't, what about the content? I know the gremlins are coming, but you heard Tara and you heard Alex talk about the fact like, hey, you know, Alex was saying, I'm a recovering perfectionist because we got to get out of our own way, because you're going to make and experience so much more momentum when you get out of your own way. That's my job, is to help you during the workshop. Get out of your own way, get into action. So come and join us. Go to membershipworkshop.com. It's all free. I want to thank my guest today. This was an absolutely amazing panel. I'm lit up. Thank you, Tara. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Scott. I hope you come away from this incredibly inspired. I know I am. Go make it a great rest of the week. You're awesome. Talk soon. Bye-bye.